Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome you to tonight's edition of Yes You with Friends. And I'm so glad that each of you have joined us on this evening. I see you out there. I'm looking at you, BTD Mom, Stacy 546, Mel Holiday, the Rebel Inc. I see you and I appreciate you guys for being out there with us on tonight. BTD Mom, come on in here. You were with us earlier this afternoon, and I just appreciate you coming back on this evening. Now, as you see, I'm minus a few friends tonight. Not that I lost them, but they are unavailable to us. We're wishing Jonna all kinds of mad love, peace, joy, and happiness as you are enjoying your anniversary. And from your A team here, we want to say happy anniversary, Jonna.
Yes.
Yes. And we hope that you are having just a marvelous, marvelous time. And of course, Jabez is missing with us tonight, but I do have my other two friends, Royal Confessions and Tyrone Busky Edwards, looking like Ali Baba on the magic carpet. Come on, fly on up in here. Fly on up in here, baby. Hello, my friends. Hello, as Lionel Richie said. I see you. Come on, Raw Confessions. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's good to be back. I've missed you guys, but it's good to be back. All is well. All is still busy, but hey, we're back in the business.
I am so glad. I missed you all. I have to say that.
Hey,
you know,
Mel.
Say hi, Miss Arkansas. You shall forever be Mrs. Bill Clinton's side piece.
I know. I miss Mel too.
Oh, and how are you, Tyrone? Tyrone, come through.
I'm good. It's the end of the weekend, but it was a good relaxing weekend. The work week was a little tough. Dealing with some kids, but real relaxed weekend. Just got to, out, no travel. So complain at all. It was pretty good.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, and appreciate you showing the love, taking care of the babies in the system. It's good to know we have good people out there, and a lot of times we talk about what our workers don't do, and I'm gonna say that as well with Jams JJ. Hello,
my. Pass from the back pass. Yes.
That's my original moderator right here. My very first original moderator in the building. Jams JJ, good evening to you. And it's great to see you on tonight. Yeah, we missed you too, BTD Mom. I've missed you all as well. So that's why I was like, listen, we're coming on tonight and we're coming in like gangbusters just so we can reconnect with our family here. I'm telling you, I've been missing y'all. So yes, Tyrone, do you assist with the kids going back to school? Mel wants to know.
Yeah, the kids on my caseload. Yeah, so I take them, register them in school, make sure they have everything they need, uniforms, meet teachers, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Wow, that's a surrogate parent.
Yeah,
I
it really
am. I am. I don't know if I told y'all some time ago I had 5 kids that I placed with their grandmother. Well, the grandmother sent them back to care, so I've had to put them all in different foster homes. So so it
Oh,
was a little tough having those conversations, and then I drive them. So
wow. Wow. It is surrogate parents. So parenting. So we appreciate you for that. And that's when I was really saying a lot of times we talk about what the system does not provide. But when we have good people in the system, and I'm going to say that on behalf of you, with our children, on behalf of Rural Confessions in the political arena, you know, a lot of times we have so much negativity to say. But then there are people out there fighting a good fight like you two. And for that, I would just want to, matter of fact, you know, I don't normally do sound effects on here, but I feel like this warrants it because you guys, both for the political arena and the children in the care, the system of care that we have, I just want to say thank you to both of you. Y'all doing a good work. So thank you. I appreciate everybody that's in the chat. I see you, Mel. Yes, absolutely. It's good for everybody to be back. So I'm enjoying the conversation that's going on here on the side. You see, my cohorts both have all kind of drinks in the room. I don't know if they're gonna make it through the end of the stream. By the time we get to the end, they may be completely sloshed and unable to talk, but they're here right now. They're here for the moment. I just don't know how long. Actually, I'm playing because I don't know about Rhonda, but I think Tyrone can handle his liquor.
I'm a G.
I cannot.
I'm a G.
No. I can handle maybe 2-3 sips.
And then you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that was the gene I did not get.
Listen, it's communion, y'all. It's communion. Come on in here and take communion.
Fifth Sunday.
Listen, on this here 5th Sunday, Tyrone is the bomb with them children. Come on in here. I hear you. But yeah, this is his time. Then darn, I hear you about to sleep, baby. I know that you're listening. Thank you for being here all the way from the UK. But listen, I know when that Hunter slumber, slobber, and sleep is trying to get a hold of you. I tell you.
I feel you. Ooh, my belly's full too. Oh yeah.
Listen, I had to shake myself loose because that spirit had a hold of me. I'm not even gonna lie. My alarm went off.
I cooked some pork chops.
I will say, what did you cook?
Huh?
What did you cook?
I cooked some pork chops. I did some mixed vegetables. I did some loaded mashed potatoes with the sour cream and the cheese in it, and some cornbread.
Wow.
Yes, all for me.
You we drive this 168 miles.
Girl, you better come on.
I clocked. I looked it up the other day. It said 168 miles to Fort Smith, and I might be rolling tonight if you still, because I don't turn down a pork chop.
Girl.
A pork chop and a potato, that's my winning combination. When I was not well, my mother, many times to get me to eat when I would not eat, she would go in there and rustle up some potatoes because I always eat a potato and a pork chop too. Oh no,
girl, look at I still got that peach cobbler pound cake.
Oh,
you made it?
Now tell me about a peach cobbler and Tall Pumps is pumping tall. Good evening to you, girl. Good evening to you. Now, I want to know and understand more about this peach cobbler pound cake.
Girl, all I could do is show you. I showed you the picture of it because, honey, she baked that thing from scratch.
Wow.
And it's good. Like in your words, it's tasty.
It's tasty.
It's tasty.
I saw the picture of it, but I was like, I've never seen that creature before, but it did look good.
It's good.
Tall Pump said, we will travel for some good swine.
Well, Tall Pops, you are welcome. Look, y'all know I'm in this house by myself. I cooked all this food.
Girl, I'm ready. I'm ready to eat. I'm ready. What? Speaking of, what did you eat today, Tyrone?
Yeah, I think we're getting dinner now.
Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Daniel,
Yeah.
so much love coming to you. And thank you for joining us tonight. Okay, well, your lips are probably watering even as we speak. So I
Love
won't
the home cooked meal.
listen, I won't tempt you while you still waiting to eat. So my belly's full too. I had some pork, I had a pork chop, and it was tasty. And I had some mixed vegetables, cauliflower and roasted cauliflower and roasted broccoli. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh,
Actually,
wow.
yes, yes, yes. Oh, Towel Pump said, packing up the pole. Here we come. I'm trying to have a poll call tonight. Y'all got me cracking up. You got me cracking
Come on,
up.
Tall Pumps. I've been practicing.
Listen, on the pole. Get on the pole. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, that's why I gotta work, because I've been working to take care of my habits. The pole lessons. I have to work to pay for the pole lessons.
Got to pay for the pole. Got to pay for the pole. Listen, I'm going to get you guys in and get you guys out, because just like my girl Den Darn over there in the UK, slumber may be pulling on a few of us tonight. So I want to thank everybody. Daniel, I'm so glad that you're here out there in YouTube. I see YouTube. I see Twitch. I don't see any representatives from Facebook as of yet. But I appreciate you all being in here tonight. Whether you're in the chat or not, I appreciate you holding space and sending love to us here in the Lion's Den. Now, tonight, I have a topic that actually, Stacy 546, if I didn't say good evening to you, let me back up and say good evening, sis. That's my sister in blue. Along with Mel Holiday, which is going to kind of make up some of the conversation that we're going to have on tonight. And so with that, I was given a clip by Jabez, which I wish that he was here. I did. Okay. Because, you know, I don't want to miss you, girl. I love you so much. I was given a clip by Jabez, and this story is in my Discord. And it's in the views from viewers. Crazy Berrytown. Good evening, my friend. That is my sister. So much love coming to you. She is a streamer. If you're not following Crazy Berrytown, otherwise known as CBT, please go out there and follow her, because she will bless your whole entire life. I promise you, she will do it. So listen, it's so good to see you, sis. And I just love you, love you, love you. Now, as we're moving on, we keep saying that it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. As we're moving on in these spaces and places, we have to acknowledge that there's so much to clean up and so much to fix. So this story that came, and again, Jabez put this in views from viewers, and I wish he had been here to really talk and speak to it. I have read it. I have listened to the tape. I don't know if you all heard that the officer who was promoted to police chief in Little Old Lexington, he came up with a scenario in Lexington, Mississippi, where I guess in Mississippi, you can record one-sided. So you can record somebody else without them knowing that they're being recorded. Now, a lot of states, they have that against the law. The person has to know that they're being recorded. However, in Mississippi, that is not the case there. You can have one-sided recording, one-sided consent. So this police chief in Mississippi, in good old boy Lexington, has been out here, and many of the residents that are Black have been complaining that they are in the wild, wild west of policing and that this police force is completely out of control. Okay, so here we come with a little bit of the background. Now, so what had happened? What had happened was, and this isn't slumber, slobbered, and slept, but what had happened was one of the Black police officers who had actually gotten out of the policing. We're talking, this is going to be verbal, had gotten out of policing and then came back because he felt like they needed to try and, yes, Mississippi, in my cricket letter, I cricket letter. Yes, that one right there. Cricket letter is crooked. So at the end of the day, I want to play this clip. Now, I want to give some statistics here that go along with this. And of course, you know, at the point in time that all of this got out, nobody, Tyrone, was available for comment. So just know that Mississippi is a one-party consent state. I'm looking for some statistics that were here. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read this paragraph and then I'm gonna play this clip. Sitting here watching it was just kicked out. Oh Lord, today. Side piece is loose. So Royal Confessions is out there in the chat, but my studio kicked her out. Lord Jesus. Let me see now. I'm gonna take you out and we'll see if you can come back in. I see you there, but I can't get your image. So Lord Jesus. But please feel free to join us in the chat and hopefully we can get you back in. Now, Dobbins firing, and they did eventually fire the man, Ty. Dobbins firing comes at a time when policing and the culture of small police departments is under scrutiny nationwide. After the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas in May, in which 19 children and 2 adults were killed, critics and policing experts are saying that the handling of the tragedy raised more concerns as to whether tiny police agencies still make sense. So we're trying to now, you know, because a lot of this wild, wild west in these small towns that have hardly any police officers there, they tend to be the ones that are most egregious in this area. So agencies, now listen to this, agencies with fewer than 10 officers make up almost half of the nation's 12,200 local departments, 2016 federal survey said. So check this out. Agencies, I'm gonna read that statistic again, with less than 10 officers make up nearly half of the nation's local departments.
That's a little scary. that's a little scary.
That knocked me off my block because I knew that there were little small town police departments and all of that as far as law enforcement. I did not, Stacey, that is frightening. That is frightening. I had no idea that statistic. And again, this is according to the 2016 federal survey. The 2016 federal survey, that agencies with 10 officers or less make up half of the local departments. You had to shut it down. Okay. It was, I got you. But at the end of the day, so now hold that in mind. Good evening, Mino 3782, and thank you for that resubscription. So much love coming to you, sis. So much love coming to you. That statistic absolutely was breathtaking to me. So if you take that in consideration with all of the, are you familiar with the idea and the terminology of a sundown town?
Yes.
Okay. So if we stop and think that probably that if we talk about, I'm trying to get Stacey's conversation up there. If we talk about half of the policing system is potentially these 10 officer and less law enforcement agencies. Do you understand, even as Stacy is saying, what's even more frightening is their training or the lack thereof?
Correct.
This is the policing that we currently have in our system. So this is where I want the conversation to come. And please chat, feel free to chat away. But this in Lexington is what we have to deal with on tonight. So we got a police officer who went in and got this chief of police in small town, rural Lexington, Mississippi. And here we get the recording that was obtained about Dobbins bragging about all of the black folks that he killed. Here we go.
Shot and killed in the line of duty 13 different people.
You just shot so many motherfuckers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Justified, bro.
Okay.
Ask around. They ain't gonna tell you no.
What other motherfuckers say about you don't matter to me. I'm talking about me and you, babe.
I'm telling you, 13 people on my numbers, okay?
Yeah.
It's justified. I'm talking about man had a gun, man had died. Okay?
You and him. You and him.
Yeah.
Right.
Got a big ass corn shootout, man. The cornfield over there. Jimmy Dale Thomas, he worked it. Justified, bro. I shot that 119 times. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I saved 67 kids in a school. Okay?
Yeah.
The rest of my department, they made it out, bro. They got scared.
Okay, I'm gonna play that one more time. I know it may be a little difficult to hear and to understand everything that he's saying, but let me tell you, he's basically saying he has, and bragging about it, killed 13 black people that he knows of, that he can count, that he knows he killed. And then he shot this one black man and uses the N-word 119 times. So here we go. I'm gonna play it one more time. And I hope you all can hear what this man is saying. And he was the police chief.
In my career, I have shot and killed in the line of duty 13 different people.
You just shot so many motherfuckers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Justified, bro.
Okay.
Ask around. They ain't gonna tell you no.
What other motherfuckers say about you don't matter to me. I'm talking about me and you, babe.
I'm telling you, 13 people on my numbers, okay?
Yeah.
It's justified. I'm talking about man had a gun, man had died. Okay?
You and him. You and him.
Yeah.
Right.
Got a big ass corn shootout, man. The cornfield over there. Jimmy Dale Thomas, he worked it. Justified, bro. I shot that 119 times. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I saved 67 kids in a school. Okay?
Yeah.
The rest of my department, they made it out, bro. They got scared.
On his notch, he's got 13 that he knows of on his notch. Now, so for those that may, again, have had difficulty, and this isn't my Discord, in views from viewers, you can go out and see the entire story and everything that's here. So I'm just going to kind of read through it real quickly. And then, of course, obviously, Tyrone and chat, I want us to have some conversation about what we need to do, because at the end of the day, he was fired. But let me get to this. So if he's the police chief, he is the police chief, right? And at the end of the day, and yes, it is a black officer who had resigned because he felt like there were inequities that were going on. But the black community was complaining, and he went back on the force. And really, I'm going to say, with the intent of interviewing and talking to this man and getting him comfortable, because I do feel like within the policing system, police may feel very comfortable to talk to one another about their egregious behavior. And this man just had diarrhea of the lips. So here we have, he's boasting that he's killed all these people, 13 and on his notch in the line of duty, but then comes back and say all justifiable. So pay attention to that. So he's describing a shooting that he did out in the cornfield. He claims that to save 67 kids in a school, he shot this black man 119 times and did use the N-word. And he said, I shot that in 119 times. Okay. adding that he was, and I don't know if this was in the clip or not, he was DRT, which in their terminology of, and I don't know if it's just a matter of slang among police officers or if it's a legitimate term, but DRT, when he said that, meant dead right there. he shot him DRT, dead right there. So at the end of the day, they do reference a vehicle that was shot 319 times, and the man was literally hit 119 times. So in this particular instance, and so Stacey is saying that slang within the police vernacular, DRT, dead right there, or maybe just within the vernacular period. So at the end of the day, folks. So at the end of the day, we have a backlash, obviously, when the recording was released in Lexington, which is a town of 1,600 people, 80% Black. A town of 1,600 people, 80% Black. And then you have this police chief, former police chief, bragging about the number of people he has on his notch. And so let's go. Talk to me, Tyrone. Talk to me.
I mean, that's scary. I mean, clearly there was a comfort level there. Like he said, to him, it was justified. And he's talking to this other person. I couldn't see it, but it sounds like he's talking to a Black man with comfort. Like, this is what we do. This is the mindset. And he feels okay with it. That's the scary part. Like, to him, I've killed these people. There's no remorse. Like, dead on arrival, dead on the scene, and to shoot somebody 116 times, like, that's overkill. Like, you stood there to make sure this person was dead. That's the scary part. Like, to him,
yeah. I am 119. I just want to correct you. 119. Shot at the car. Now, this is the kind of crazy stuff that we're dealing with because, if we're looking at, I'm sure he wasn't by himself to get 319 bullets in the car, but he's definitely bragging that he shot the man 119 times.
And the comfort level for me is just the crazy part. And for me, that's when it comes in. Because like you said, it sounds like a white man who's police chief, probably didn't grow up in that town, but for some odd reason, and we see that a lot in these small towns where, somebody comes from the outside and now they're in charge. They got some rights, and especially in Mississippi, ain't no telling where he came from and how Black people were represented there. And now he's coming to this area, predominantly Black, with that same mindset and looking at these people that he's supposed to be protecting. Like, he's police chief. So he's the all be everything. And you're thinking his mindset is probably these people are nothing. If anything, I'm going to protect me and mine, and I'll do away with them. Yeah. And that's scary because you see that in a lot of, we see it here in Texas, these very small towns, not a whole lot of people. A lot of them are starting to grow, and you have these police forces that are very small. Most of them probably are related, have the same mindset, and just do what they want to do.
Yeah. And good evening to Shelly Thunder. Good evening, Shelly Welly. And Shelly Welly is a streamer. Please go out and follow Reboot the Podcast. They will bless your life. I'm trying to bring you back in, Rhonda, but I can't get a visual on you. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, this ease with which they were easily having this conversation, and it was a Black man. For everybody, I'm looking at the chat and I see you all saying it sounds like a Black officer. He was a Black officer, and to reiterate, he had left the force citing issues, and then he came back on the force on the behest of the community for the purpose of trying to reveal and uncover this dastardly behavior that was going on by the police force. One woman talks about how she and her son were kicked in on by the police officer. No warrant, no nothing. They were held hostage, more or less. I mean, the stories that are coming out, and that's why so many of the Black residents, and let me give you that statistic again, in a town of 1,600 people, 80% in that town are Black. In a town of 1,600 people, 80% Black. But then you have a police chief that's walking around talking about the notches on, he got 13 notches for the number of people that he's killed, and quite proud of it, and really, really, really bragging about it. So
and I bet he has no training. I mean, if you think of a town of population of 1,600 that's predominantly Black,
yes,
there's no investment in training, resources. This person is probably just out there literally doing what they want to do. The few of them that's out there that call themselves the police and the protectors, they have there's no investment there. And unfortunately, that's the way our country is set up, but there's no investment there.
And you're so right. And that's what the townspeople have been complaining about for a minute. But it took this police officer going back to the force and recording this man unbeknownst to him, and then turning this recorded conversation over. Now, I've got two ex-police officers here in the person of Stacy 546. They made their own rules. We got Stacy 546 and Mel Holiday here, who are retired Blue. So this is what I do want to address, because at the end of the day, even though he was talking to a Black man, I want to address this wall of blue. You understand what I'm saying? I think that there's something to be said that because he was talking to another police officer is telling of the fact that police officers amongst themselves will tell their dastardly deeds amongst themselves and find it funny, find the conversation engaging and entertaining, and feel absolutely no kind of feeling or remorse or anything like this, because Blue is not going to rat on Blue. Now, that's why I feel like even though he was talking to a Black man, I think he thought the Brotherhood of the Blue was going to cover him from any kind of righteous judgment. And that's my opinion. Y'all can agree with me or not, but I feel like even in the instance, and I'm going to say this boldly, even in the instance of Black officers who know that there are injustices being done to Black people, that blue blood is thicker than them understanding they need to stand up for their Black brothers and sisters. In my opinion, that is not uncommon, that even though they know things are not right in the system, Black people will still go along with the blue versus standing up right for wrong. Daniel, I'm so glad you're here. He said he needs to be prosecuted. Justifying murder with self-defense and putting a badge on it is exactly what this joker is doing. So what do you think about this whole culture? And I mean, these are like, at the end of the day, these police officers and these little small towns with 10 officers and less, and again, we're talking about here in remote areas. I just can't even imagine in a town of 1,600%, 80% Black, and like they are identifying, these officers have been treating them like the wild, wild west since forever. And finally, this has come to light. But Black officers on the force, this man left, but came back. But are Black officers on the force selling us out also to the blue?
I mean, there is a brotherhood or sisterhood, a union. I mean, and that's going to be with anything. That's going to be police, military. I mean, there is a bond that we protect one another. And unfortunately, I mean, sometimes we all get sold out to a certain extent. But yes, there's clearly a bond. This man had a conversation with another police officer. To him, that's a brother, and there's comfort in that conversation. That's a conversation of this is my homeboy. Everything I did was right, and you should understand me justifying everything I did. There is.
So with that, and he did just because listen, at the end of the day, he said all justifiable. All these murders that he committed, he backs that up and says all justifiable. And then you have to deal with the reality of when you have the police officer's word against the citizen, and they're coming out with, even if they make up some contrived lie and say that it was justifiable and it was a good shoot. At the end of the day, you still have to get over qualified immunity. So qualified immunity is that level where it is identified as long as the police officer was working in the line of duty and committed a justifiable offense, they have immunity from prosecution. So let's tie all this together, which is really why we're screaming and hollering. Qualified immunity needs to be done away with for the popo, because this has become a blanket that even after being caught on this tape talking about the 13 notches, which represent people that he have killed justifiably, so he says, he still could get away with qualified immunity. So let's have some conversation about this qualified immunity, because all of this is coming to full circle and coming to head with cases like this. And even though we had a police officer catch this man, who again was the police chief, even though we have this man getting caught, this is not unlike many stories across the United States of America. They just haven't gotten caught yet. And with that, qualified immunity, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
That's a tough one. I mean, with the police force, I mean, most of their actions are going to be justified. And it could be to the powers that be. Most of their actions, and I'm not saying they should be justified, but they're going to find a way to justify whatever the action is. I mean, over and over and over again. And the common person is like, there's no way this was justified. There's no way. You can justify your actions, your course of action you decided to take, but with the system that's set up out, it's justified.
Is shooting a person 119 times out of 319 bullets that the car took, but you shot the man 119 times, is that overkill? In any case, of course. But trust me, if that was ever sent to a judge, there was going to be a story behind. There was a high-speed chase. There was 50 of us. The whole police force, probably about 9 of them, some other people come in from the others. I mean, they're going to find a way to justify it. Is it overkill? Of course. But I mean, as of right now, that's the society we live in. Okay, so that as of right now, that's the society we live in. Now, you know how we do it here on Yes You. So then, Sharon's, speak to me. Something's got to change. So what are the changes that we need to start advocating for? Because this is, again, I'm sure not isolated, but this has got to stop.
I mean, I think one of the biggest changes is we really are thinking of restructuring the police force. We need protection, but when we start those really small towns, like I was saying earlier, resources are limited, training is limited. There's no accountability for actions and things that are happening. So we really need to start looking at restructuring the police force, how officers are distributed amongst towns, amongst states. Because you're going to, like you said, this is not an isolated situation. I'm sure here in Texas, I mean, where I live, where you live, very small police forces. They get out here, they do what they want to do. And most of them they're probably related and they all have the same mindset. We really need to start looking at restructuring police forces and finding out ways that we're able to, one, have proper training and make sure there's laws and rules and regulations put in place that's accountable, that's across the board, so that we don't have these really small towns and really small populations and groups of people doing what they want to do.
So what do you think about the idea? I'm gonna read some of these comments. BTD Mom said, sounds like qualified assassination. Stacy 546, there are officers that stand up for what's right, but you are correct. In small towns, there is a feeling of us against them, and officers will let their guard down with one another. You can always tell the good ones from the bad ones because the good ones keep their mouths shut and just listen, but the bad ones brag, as this chief did. And then Stacy comes back again and said, we have to dismantle all the police departments from the top to the bottom. You can't work with what is there. And she is retired blue. So she's retired blue, as well as Mel Holiday. Both of them are in my chat. So I have to be inclined to agree that it needs to be dismantled. And especially, I'm still blown away to know that these little 10 officer and less towns make up half of the policing system. That's just unbelievable. That number is staggering and jaw-dropping to me. So these little towns really still have and wield a lot of power. They still get to do what they want to do. As they said, it's like we live in the wild, wild west. And I think it was Royal Confession said in the chat, obviously with that, more than likely comes the ability, we make up our own rules. We make up our own lies. I didn't mean to say lies, but yeah, we make up our own lies. We make up our own laws is what I meant to say, but that must have been a Freudian slip right there. We make up our own lies and laws and do what we want to do. And the people have absolutely nothing that they can say about it. So do you think they're talking about, again, the idea of getting rid of these small police departments? So what about this idea of coming in with larger entities to swallow up these smaller entities? Is that going to be an answer? Because then at that point, you got larger entities that may be completely oblivious to that particular city or town or whatever. Out of the mouth and drunk tales are the truth. Come on here. It might actually be a matter of less desirable situation to have larger enforcement agencies coming in and swallowing up these smaller ones and just taking them over. I don't see that as an answer either. I mean, what is your sense of feeling about that?
Yeah, I don't really see that as an answer. Because even though these are smaller towns, there's a relationship, there's a culture of town. And a lot of times when you have larger corporations, larger businesses calling themselves moving into smaller towns, it doesn't always work out for the best. I think a big part of this is proper training and qualified people in place.
Okay.
Like say, what would that even look like? A large police force that's, at the end of the day, we would have to have officers close to that area, which at some point would hopefully take on the culture of the community. I mean, you're more successful when you adapt to the environment that you're in. That's why it's all. What would that even look like? Police areas where they grew up in. They understand the neighborhood, they understand the culture. But when you have these large entities going in and trying to control things, I think the biggest thing would be proper training, so more resources, and having qualified people in those positions of leadership.
Well, I tell you, if you're promoting from within, and that's what you have to choose from, it's slim pickings. Stacy said the problem with the small towns are that they require that the people that work for those departments also pay for their own uniforms, their own weapons, and way through the academy. So basically, you have a Bubba going in saying, hey, I like killing people and I can pay my way, and you get hired. Man, I hear you, Stacy. I hear you. If you can pay your way and go through, you got it made and you're hired. So obviously that needs to be addressed.
That would need to change.
Yeah. So yeah, that's frightening, BTD Mom. That's frightening. I would dare say, Stacy, that probably a lot of people don't know that that's the system in some of these small towns. That if you basically pay your way, and you get, through the academy by paying your way, you're buying your weapons and buying your own uniforms, paying your way, and you're happy to come in as a Bubba that probably never ever should have passed police academy. But at the end of the day, you're what the city or town has to offer in the way of recruits. And they push you on through the system and you pay your way. Because ultimately what I hear you saying, if you can pay your way, you can get hired. And there is an issue with that. So speak to that, Tyrone.
I mean, yeah, that's a big issue. And that wouldn't either change. You think in this neighborhood, 1,600 people population.
Yes.
I mean, of course, those aren't all adults. Like I said before, their resources are probably limited. The budget for the town is little of nothing. So this is clearly, if this is the process of, I can pay my way through, that's all they had. Like, this needs to be streamlined across all police forces. And a person shouldn't be able to pay their way or have to provide their own resources, uniforms, and weapons and things of that nature to become a police officer to protect and serve. Right. Across the board, we need a system where everybody, if you apply for wherever state you're in, you apply, you go through the academy, you shouldn't have to pay for it yourself. There should be resources for you to be successful. Because, I mean, hell, they could be using their own guns.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, they using...
Yeah.
There's no resource. And unfortunately, these small communities that are predominantly Black have no resources. Mm-hmm. And the people that we expect to protect us are literally out here doing what they want to do. And a big part of this because they don't have the resources. We see these small towns growing, and you got 5 police officers dealing with now 2,000 people. I mean, we got to streamline that thing across the board for all departments and officers, where we provide them with the adequate resources for the proper. And this is a little scary because now we have politicians in office in these small towns until they die. They probably paid their way through too.
This is egregious. It's almost frightening. Sounds like a type of scholarship fund is needed. And as Stacy 546 said earlier, and thank you for that resubscription, main man. That's my guy. I appreciate you for supporting us. 14 months long we've been together. I love you. This is, and as Stacy said, they do use their own guns. They do use their own weapons. So it's almost like now, hey, I got a badge and I get to go out of here and do whatever I want to do. And as they called it, the Wild Wild West, these folks have just lost all sense of direction. There is a group called Julian, which is a civil rights organization that is part of the investigation that's going on here. And the Jill Jefferson and the president of this organization says, this is corruption that we're seeing on this scale that I've never seen since the civil rights movement. Now that's telling.
Yeah.
That's telling. We haven't seen corruption on this scale since the civil rights movement. Now, I don't think it ever stopped. Do you? I don't think it ever stopped.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, it never stopped. It never stopped. The only thing is now we can see it more. We have situations like this where videos can come out. We have social media, but yeah, it never stopped.
Yeah.
This isn't new.
Yeah.
There was no break.
I don't think so either. So, as I get them expressing the shock, we're shocked, stunned, and amazed. We've never seen anything at this level. I just really feel this is how out of touch our country is. And I really do mean this. This is how out of touch, and particularly white America. White America, somehow or another, when we stopped singing "We Shall Overcome Someday," and we buried Martin, and we buried Malcolm in the grave, and we went on about our business, and that legislation passed in 1964, somehow or another, white America was like, by George, they've arrived, everything is fixed, and now we got a new country, and I don't know what these black folks are talking about, because they got equal rights. And at the end of the day, if anything, I would contend that it's probably worse than what it was during the civil rights movement. It just does not get the same recognition and does not get the same level of crying out that we had in that day and time, because there are a lot of black people that feel like, hey, I'm better now than my grandfather and my father and them were, so we ain't got no problems. So at the end of the day, what y'all crying about? What y'all marching about? What y'all talking about? And so then with this sense of being lulled to sleep, if you will, in the black community somewhat, because we still know the disparities and the inequities are there, but we're just not as vocal as we were during the civil rights. But you got white America that's out there saying, hey, it's all fixed. We're not like that anymore. That was my grandma. That was my grandpa. But it's still being carried out by your grandchildren, by you, by your children, because this mindset is still being passed down. Tall Pumps brought in the idea of firearms. Do we really need firearms in policing like we currently have? I think it's an issue. Uh-oh, I lost you on that one.
No, because if I call the police here, I'm expecting you to have a gun. Because I need protected if I got to call.
You might end up dead.
Huh?
You might be the one that ends up dead when you call them.
Between me and my Lord, if it is my time to go, I have to accept that. But if I call the police here, I'm expecting them to have a weapon because it's needed. But it all also depends on the call. Not every situation needs a weapon or a gun. So, it's debatable and how that should work. And maybe we should have, I know in Virginia there's like a resource line before it gets to the police, especially when it comes to like mental health and stuff. Where it's not always directed to a police officer who's going to come with the lights and the gun and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we need to start looking into some of those other resources depending on the type of call. But I need some police officers to have a gun.
I hear you. I feel that the weaponry is overused and we have militarized. These are military. These are not police officers. And I feel like there's a difference between military and police officer, because these folks are coming out here, and especially if they're buying their own weapons. If I show up with a military grade automatic, semi-automatic weapon, because listen, 119 times, 319 shots, that is not just some shotguns and some rifles out here. Y'all out here with some assault weaponry. And at the end of the day, you're the police, you're not the military, and there is a difference. So I think there's so many issues and conversations to have around the weaponizing or the militarization, because it's really like the police have become military. They're not police. And there should, in my opinion, there's two different functions, two different things, two different levels of weapons. So I think there's an issue there when you start talking about guns. Yes, show up with a gun, but should you come up with a gun that can shoot me 119 times? Should you have access as a police officer to a weapon that can shoot me DRT, dead right there, 119 times so you can say you got another notch?
Not at all. And I think in this situation, like I said, very small town, no resources. They're out here using their own tools. Now, for me, like I said, depending on the situation, if I call you and say there's a cat in my tree and I need it down, I don't expect you to show up with a gun. But if I call you and say I believe somebody's downstairs, I don't need you to show up and you tell me you're just going to chase them down, because I could have done that. I expect you to come with a gun and dead on arrival, because he shouldn't be downstairs. So like I said, it depends on the situation. Not every officer and not every situation requires a weapon.
Okay. I loved Daniel's comment. And pay attention.
I would like to say this is my friend Daniel. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, Awesome. Welcome, Daniel. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us on tonight. And I'm loving your comments. Qualified immunity was introduced during the civil rights movement to protect the officers. And what officers are we protecting? White officers. That alone is a red flag of its origin, and it's enough reason to remove it. If I shoot you down, I've got qualified immunity that in the line of duty, and as the man clearly said, and you could, if you didn't hear anything else he was bragging about besides the 13 notches, he was definitely bragging with the idea justified, so as long as we can move with the officer and the law enforcement agency coming out with that, I'm justified, and get that blanket covering from qualified immunity, they know they're going to walk off scot-free. And that is an issue. And thank you for bringing that point up. That is an awesome point. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Oh, no, I was agreeing, saying that needs to change.
Yeah, that it needs to go.
Yeah, that needs to go.
It needs to go.
You can't just be out here killing people, and just because of the position that you hold is justified.
Come on. Doing away with affirmative action made it possible for these small towns to remain lily white, and they don't have to hire minorities. Do you have anything? I hear you, main man, and I agree. So at the end of the day, man, the mail said they even had a black president. What else do you want? I've heard that. What else can y'all want? It's insanity. No, we don't. We don't need.
I was gonna say, like you said, there is that sense of, certain races that everything's changed, everything is good now. But like you also said, there's also that part of us where we stop fighting as well.
Yes,
like we put that perception out there that we're good now. We can buy a house, we can live in the suburbs, we can drive cars, I can vote. We stop fighting as well.
I agree with you on that. And this is why, it's like, oh my God, you guys are beating a dead horse. It's really not a dead horse, because this is actually a current event. This is actually something that has recently transpired and has, for those that know about it, people in an uproar. A lot of us, isn't it amazing that I got you, that would be dead right there. So yeah, they're gonna shoot you dead right there. And there are instances, Tyrone, where the people that are calling are the ones, when they show up, they're the ones getting shot and killed. No, I'm just not I'm not feeling that. But just this whole idea that our police officers feel like they are the law, and the wild, wild west law at that they have no holds barred. Whatever we do and however we do it, we are right and we are righteous. I think we really need to address that as well. And I don't want them carrying guns. Just straight up. I don't want folks like this police chief talking about, I got 13 notches. I got 13 notches. That this man is talking about having killed citizens. And he says, I got 13 notches as far as I can tell. Meaning I might have more than that. I just might have missed somewhere along the road. And when you start talking about arming those kind of people, no, ma'am, no, sir. I'm just not for it. Now, getting to your point, main man said qualified immunity is a big reason why officers feel free to use lethal force without a second thought, because they know all they got to do is say justified. That's their magical word. That's get out of jail free. Never go to jail. Forget get out of jail free. Never go to jail. All I got to do is say justified. And even if I make up, yes, I feared for my life, Mel. I hate those words coming from police officers. I feared for my life. Then why are you on the police force? We need you to get off. If you're always turning around fearing for your life, please go somewhere and sit down. We don't need you.
Well, police officers are human as well, and there are situations where they fear for their lives the same way we were. I mean, they're not gods. There are situations that they can go into where they can fear for their lives as well.
Tyrone.
Yes.
They know the nature of the job when they sign up for it.
We can say that for a school teacher.
But listen, this is what I'm
They
going
know
to
the
say.
nature of the job when they sign up for it. So don't complain about pay and don't complain about long days and don't complain about the kids not learning. I mean, we can't say just because they're a police officer, they know the nature of the job and they should go into situations.
I see that as apples and oranges, but I hear you. I see that as apples and oranges. I do see that as apples and oranges, the same thing to me. But at the end of the day, this is what we got when I feared for my life. You got all of those officers standing out there in the hallway for 72 plus minutes at Uvalde while this gunman is in here mowing down and killing children and teachers. But you got armed people outside that fear for their lives more than they care about the citizens they're supposed to be protecting. And so for 72 plus minutes, they do absolutely nothing because they feared for their lives. And they're human too. Who wants to walk into the face of a man that's armed with bullets? Well, what do you think these kids and these teachers are feeling like who are unarmed? But you're out here mamby-pamby like little kids talking about I feared for my life.
Now, of course, they should do their job. And their job is to protect. But we can't say, I hate when I hear a police officer say, I fear for my life. There are some situations that police officers can go into where they are fearful. Now, the police officers or the retired police officers in the chat, can you tell me you've never gone into a situation where you didn't feel for your life? You always went into a situation saying, I'm a police officer and I have the tools and the resources to control this. If they can say that, I've never been a police officer, but I know I go into people's homes as a CPS caseworker, fearing for my life. I text him and say, well, I'm gonna send you my location because I don't know what's about to happen when I go in here. People can say, well, you work for CPS. You should be used to going into people's homes. There's gonna be situations where police officers fear for their lives. And we don't have to agree, but that's my point.
I have so many words going through. I'm with you. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Listen, Mel said she was taught in the academy shooting some lethal force should be your last resort. Correct. Stacy 546 said she never feared for her life one time. She said, wait, I take that back. When I got hit by the car and went over the bridge, I did think I might hit the road below and die, but that was it. Come on, come through. I mean, come on now. I just, and she said, me too. She was taught that lethal force in the academy is your absolute last resort. But these folks, like Main Man said, these folks are coming out like the Wild Wild West. You're unarmed. They fire 100 shots and hit you 60 times. How can they be fearing for their lives?
Correct. And I mean, in those situations, like, how could you fear for your life? In that situation, I would look at that person's side, like, really? You can shot this person. You can shot at this person 3 times. What's the threat? They're being shot from the back. They're running from you, not running towards you. How
exactly.
can you fear for your life? In those situations, I can understand.
Yeah. Tall Pump said, we live in a time that we all fear for our lives. Show of hands. Who amongst us doesn't fear for your life? I'll wait. And that's a good question and a good one to hang out there. So if everybody's fearing for their lives, then everybody just get a gun and shoot. I feared for my life.
Not saying that, but there are situations where I'm sure police officers fear for their lives. Should they shoot? No. Lethal, using a gun should be your last resort, especially shooting to kill. But sometimes police officers may fear for their lives.
Mel said nowadays police officers have more resources to de-escalate a situation besides shooting their weapon. And I think that needs to be considered. Now, here we have.
It also depends on the town and the resources that are provided. So I'm sure those resources out there and these trainings and things are out there, but we can't say all police forces get them. And that's why I'm saying these things should be across the board. Because a lot of times when you get into these small towns, like we've already said, it comes down to budget.
Now, Royal Confessions brings up a good point. As an elected official there, I do know that she goes in and out amongst the academies and the different things that go on within the town that she lives in. And she says here very clearly, they are trained to shoot to kill even during the academy that she attended. And I do know that she's gone through the academy training down there and been an observer and participant within the municipality where she lives. So they're being trained to shoot to kill. They're being trained to shoot to kill.
I honestly think all police officers should serve 2 years in the military before they become a police officer. Because in the military, there's really good training on de-escalating situations. Even if I have to choke you out, I can take you down without shooting you. I think all police officers should serve 2 years in the military.
Okay.
Go do basic, 2 years of serving this country, and then you become a police officer. Requirement across the board. Everybody go.
That sounds like an option. That sounds like a viable option. I'm not gonna fight you on that. I'm not gonna, because obviously the issue becomes training.
Yes.
If you don't have those training skills. Now, what would be the problem with teaching that same skill in the police academy?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little.
What would be the problem with teaching that same skill, but in the police academy? Uh-oh, did I lose you? Are you there? If you're talking, I can't hear you. You froze up on me just a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
I can now. Yes.
Okay. You said what would be the problem with putting that training into the police academy?
Yeah.
Oh no, that would be great. I personally feel everybody should serve in the military. I would say school teachers need to it. But I'm just saying, but if they could put that training across the board, we're not looking at, small town budget across the board, that training would be beneficial. I mean, in the military, we would turn around and just fight each other, and whoever choked each other out first, it was de-escalated. That was a good training. I don't have issues in the club because I will choke you out. And I think I don't have to shoot you, but I'll lay you out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Stacy 546 said, I think that's a good idea in a sense, but I've come across some military guys that shouldn't be cops, and I agree with that 200%.
And I mean, that we could say that for anything.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not your calling, then you shouldn't do it. And hopefully at some point we're able to weed you out.
Some people just want that power and the surge.
And power is a big part of it,
Yeah. And so I think that becomes an issue. Sounds good, Tyrone. However, just about every force is short of officers right now. Can't wait for military support. I got you on that, Royal Confessions.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's short right now. I was just watching the news, and I mean, we got over 800 school teacher vacancies. Like, I don't know what this world's about to come to.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. There are 110% of the cops out there now that shouldn't be cops. And I agree with her on that. I definitely agree with that. The closing, and I'm going to let you have your closing remarks here. And I appreciate everybody that's been talking. I really want us to take this as hopefully, and we keep saying this over and over again, we want this to be a pivotal moment. We want this to be a pivotal moment. We want this to be a pivotal moment. And then the next egregious thing happens, and we just keep saying, we want this to be a pivotal moment. I think that, however, for my purposes, understanding and knowing the large percentage, I had no clue that over half of our law enforcement agency is made up these little small backwards police groups. That was staggering for me. That was an eye opener for me. And maybe I'm out of touch myself. I just did not think that they comprise that large of the chunk of officers that are out here. And it really is telling as to why there's still so much police initiated murder in the streets against Black people. Man, I'm just, that blew me away. When I read that in the article, I was stunned. So then when we see the high numbers that are still killing Black people by law enforcement, killing Black people, it makes a whole lot more sense to me why those numbers continue to be so daggum high when it's that many officers that, man, I'm still blown away by that. Tall Pump said, why train a man, a police, to kill? And from a policeman's perspective, when wants to use a qualified immunity for his murder, he like, I only did what you trained me to do. It does become a really, really twisted scenario. I want to know when they started hiring from the KKK. We always weeded out those guys and the Reiths. And I think the KKK been running a lot of these departments for a long time, Stacey. You know, I hear you saying y'all weeding them out, but I done seen a whole lot of KKK. And on the rise now, a lot of these, just like Tyrone said, go to the military, a lot of the far right has purposely sent people to the military so they can get that militarized training and then come back and be in their white supremacist group as trained killers. So at the end of the day, you know, if the military is the answer, it's being effectively used on both sides. So I'm like, good Lord. So it's a problem when everybody sends their folks to the military. We all come back trained combatants. I'm like, is that really going to be the answer? Because the KKK folks are trained, the white supremacists are trained, and they're going into the military expressly for that training. That's some crazy stuff to me. But I hear you. So, man. With that, I'm going to close out with this. A culture like this does not deserve immunity. And so also within the civil rights organizations that are taking up the charge against Lexington PD and i.e. the system, they are going after qualified immunity. I hope they're able to make some inroads. It needs to stop. Because it does allow this culture of the wild, wild west out here killing up Black folks and bragging about it as notches. I still can't get over that Joker actually said notches. That man literally fixed his mouth to say notches. I'm that's speechless. I'm just done. So at the end of the day, folks like this need to be weeded all the way out. And we got to come up with some kind of solution. I don't know what that is, but I was glad. I want to thank Jabez again, even though he's not here tonight. I was glad to see they did fire him. For those that are wondering, they did terminate him. He is now nutted up and is not talking at all. He refuses to talk to anybody, and as he well should, because he's already incriminated himself on that tape. And it remains to be seen. I haven't heard this in mainstream media, as a matter of fact. So I've been out of pocket this week with my situation health-wise and what I had going on, taking care of my health and other business. But I have to say, I haven't seen this on any media outlet that I've been tuned into. So why is it so hush hush? Inquiring minds want to know. And with that, Tyrone, I'm gonna allow whatever you want to say in those final words. And to everybody that has talked in the chat, I appreciate your input. But just so you know, Lexington, Mississippi is in a quandary right now behind this event. And I hope and pray that it makes some differences.
Well, I would say, you know, this good topic, because like you said, it's not in mainstream. I honestly came though. We was talking about your boy who's loosening the women, because I was on earlier, but but like this, this is not on mainstream. You know, this is not anything we're hearing about, and these are topics and conversations we need to hear about versus getting stories that Biden got COVID again. No, these are things that are happening in these really small towns that need the media presence to really get change. Luckily, due to the world of social media, we're able to get these stories. But like you said, this is nothing new. We just so happen that he got caught. And now it's bringing some attention to it. These are the things that we need to see and wish we could have saw them a long time ago, that we need to bring that media presence to. That statistic was very scary.
Oh my God.
You know, we talk about these small towns, and especially in states like Mississippi. You know, you want to be home before that sun goes down.
Liz.
So there are police officers out here thinking that you are a notch on a belt. I killed you.
Yes.
And that's it's like receiving a trophy. That is really scary. We need a major change, but that's a big conversation on what that change is going to look like. I think we really need to move away from the very small town police units. But again, I don't know what that at this point what that change would look like. And we really need to start to put some processes and policies in place where these things are across the board. We also need to have policies and processes in place where police officers have to be held accountable for their actions. There's no way you can justify shooting at somebody over 300 times and hitting them over 100 times. There's no way you can justify that. But the way things are set up right now is justified. So we need some major change. We all need to come to the table. We can't get comfortable. We have to continue to fight for what's right for us. And everybody out there living in a small town, we got to put the people out there. When our protectors are not acting the way they should and abusing their power, we need to blast them, because that's the only way we're going to get some change right now.
And I am in 100% agreement. We've got to blast them. We've got to put it on blast. We've got to put it on blast. Yes, someone asked Tall Pumps, is this in my Discord? Yes, it is. Jabez put this in my Discord, and it is under news from viewers. And I always encourage people, go out there and look, because the viewers do put a lot of information and a lot of details out there in that channel where you can see different information. I have another one, and I thought we might get to it tonight, but we did not get a chance to talk about it. But we'll come back.
And in the 1950s,
let me cut this one out. There's a book that's out called Medical Apartheid. I want us to have a conversation about that too, because it talks about the testing that the government has been doing. And I don't want to let all the cat out of the bag. We'll talk about it. And you'll see it out there in my Discord. I'm going to put it out there. It was given to me by Kim Possible 711, but it talks about how the government is continuing to use Black communities as guinea pigs for trying out and testing. Case in point, I think one of the first things she talks about, mosquitoes that they were releasing that were infected by the tens of thousands, and releasing them into the Black communities to see more or less like lab rats, what the effects would be. And so this medical apartheid that continues. We talked, you all know, Friday, I talked about the Tuskegee experiment that this time 50 years ago was still going on. So let's be clear on that. We're not talking about something way, way in the past. This time 50 years ago, up through November of what would have been 50 years ago, the experiments on the Tuskegee scenario with the Black men and syphilis was going on even still. So this medical apartheid that continues to be unleashed against the Black communities, the type of murder that we listened to this man talk about tonight as a chief of police, as notches on his belt, and shooting using the N word, shooting the N 119 times to brag about it. Man, I'm telling you, we've got to come on in here. Reboot the podcast has come in. She is a streamer, y'all. I want you all these are my girls. And listen, I'm gonna tell you what, they have reached their number, and I want to thank everybody for going out there and following them. They have reached the number that they need for affiliation. So they will be affiliates as soon as we get our hours in as far as streaming. But those are my girls, and I want to echo what you're saying here. Reboot the podcast. It's so important to shine light on all of this darkness, because it's time for change. And I think that's so powerful. And I think Tyrone, anything else that you have to share, but I'm gonna leave that up, because I feel like that's the way I want us to leave tonight. We don't just have these conversations to talk about a topic just for bumping our gums. It's important that we shine our light on all this darkness because it's time for change. And with that, Tyrone, I'm gonna leave you the final words.
I mean, I don't have much other to say than I already said, but like I said, the tough topics, tough conversations that we had to have, but we also had to find, like I said, the light in all this darkness. That's what keeps us going as we continue to find solutions and ways to push forward, because that's what we do as a people.
Yes, and yes again. With that, we're leaving, and I appreciate everybody that has been here on today. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Yes You with Friends. Even the Royal Confessions, who tried numerous times to get in but was unable to do so. I love you, sis. Thank you for your many efforts. Tyrone, you held it down.
Thank you.
Come through, my guy. Please copy the raid message. We're going to go somewhere and share some love someplace else. I love you, and you know how we leave out of here. Peace for your journey.
Because